In China, it seems no scandal is off the table. If corrupt male officials are bad, their female counterparts are just as guilty, if not worse, when it comes to greed and immoral behavior. And believe it, these women are playing the same dirty game, but with their own wild twist. We've all heard about Chinese Communist Party officials trading favors for keeping mistresses and making shady deals. But now, female officials are getting in on the action, taking bribes and engaging in shocking sexual misconduct that rivals their male colleagues. Some of these women have had over 50 lovers, some have even been involved in incest with their sons-in-law, and a few have gone as far as targeting high-ranking leaders. In the cutthroat world of Chinese politics, corruption doesn't discriminate, and the stories just keep getting crazier. Before we jump in, I've got a quick favor. This video might attract negativity or bots trying to bury it, but you can help. If you're finding value in the content, hit the like button to keep it visible. Your support really helps. Thank you. Lihua's 50-man boy toy club scandal. In a twist that sounds like a soap opera, former deputy mayor of Qingyang City, Lihua, has been sentenced to 14 years in prison for taking bribes and amassing a fortune with no clear origin. And the numbers are jaw-dropping. Wu pocketed 33.76 million yuan, roughly 4.63 million US dollars, from 33 individuals. And when pressed for answers, she couldn't account for 13.4 million yuan, about 1.79 million yuan dollars of it. Now 59, Wu Lihua's rise through the ranks in Gansu province was anything but traditional. After starting as a humble clerk in the district's education office, her career took off, thanks, reportedly, to her ability to use her looks to win favor. By age 28, she was deep into power for sex exchanges, using her connections to climb from minor official to deputy mayor. And her lifestyle reflected her growing power. Luxury brands, mansions, expensive cars, gold bars, and hefty bribes she funneled into the stock market. But it's not just the corruption that's making headlines, it's Wu's wild private life. Rumors of a boy toy network, over 50 men strong, are buzzing. These weren't just any men. Her male subordinates were described as looking like male celebrities, and nearly all of them ended up as her lovers. In fact, Wu's double life started unraveling during a police raid on prostitution and illegal activities. She was reportedly caught in the act, hurriedly fleeing the scene. Later, investigators discovered she had booked hotel rooms 265 times in just 1 year, spending a staggering 380,000 yuan, taxpayer money from one of China's poorest provinces. Insiders paint an unbelievable picture. Whenever Wu spotted a handsome subordinate, she'd summon him to her office under the guise of work and seduce him. Those who resisted quickly found their careers under threat. And it wasn't just her staff. Businessmen pitching projects often found themselves on the receiving end of Wu's advances. If they didn't play along, their projects were doomed. To top it all off, people are now openly commenting, Wu Lihua, female, hobby, men. It seems her scandalous behavior has left even the most seasoned political watchers stunned. Wu Lihua's story is a mix of corruption, seduction, and the kind of excess that's almost hard to believe, except in the high-stakes world of Chinese politics, where, as we're learning, nothing is truly off-limits. Affair with son-in-law. In one of the most jaw-dropping scandals to hit China's political scene, Li Keihong, the former deputy party secretary and mayor of Zhongshan City, Guangdong, was sentenced to 11 years in prison back in May 2010. Bribery, insider trading, leaking confidential info, Li was guilty of it. Her family fortune hit an eye-popping 2 billion yuan. As she stood in court, tears flowing, she cried out, "This is the most painful day of my life." But believe it or not, the corruption charges weren't the most shocking part. Li Keihong blew past any boundaries of human decency. It turns out, not only was she keeping a stable of young men as lovers, many the same age as her kids, but she also had an affair with her own son-in-law. When her daughter caught wind of the sickening relationship, Li shamelessly snapped, "He's just a man. Why should you fight me for him?" Understandably, her daughter was crushed and spiraled into deep depression. But rather than offering a shred of sympathy, Li went even further, branding her daughter as crazy and packing her off to a psychiatric hospital. It's the kind of scandal that leaves you wondering, Just how low can people go? In Li Keihong's world, it seems there were no limits. No one was off limits, not even her bosses. Luo Yaping, the former director of the Land and Resources Bureau in Shenzhen District Liaoning, took corruption to a whole new level. She embezzled a staggering 145 million yuan, about 19.86 million USD, and for that, she was handed a death sentence. Bribery, corruption, and millions in unexplained wealth sealed her fate. But the money trail wasn't the only shocking part of her story. Luo's scandals didn't stop at financial corruption. Her moral compass was completely broken. It turns out she had a steamy affair with a subordinate 10 years her junior, and to keep things quiet, she shelled out 1 million yuan, $137,000 to him, essentially telling him to make things right with his wife so they wouldn't cause a scene. And if you think that's bad, it gets worse. Luo didn't just prey on her underlings, she set her sights on her superiors too. One day, after hours, she strolled into a senior leader's office, bold as ever, and made him an offer. "Spend the night with me, and I'll make sure you get a nice little payday." She didn't stop there. She whisked him off to a luxury hotel, pulled out 50,000 yuan, 6,850 USL, tossed it on the bed, and said, "This is yours if you stay with me tonight." From then on, every time she felt the need, she'd drag him into another one of her sordid affairs, leveraging her power to force him into compliance. Political commentator Yuan Bin didn't hold back when describing the broader implications of cases like Luo's. He wrote that despite the CCP's constant promises to crack down on corruption, it's only getting worse. The bribes are bigger, and the decadence more outrageous. Where once it was mainly male officials abusing their power, now female officials are diving headfirst into the same corrupt pool. In the past, women in power would sell their beauty to climb the ranks. Today, they're not only doing that, but also using their influence to fulfill their personal desires. Just like Lihua, who kept a club of boyfriends, channeling the infamous excess of Wu Zetian herself. Are officials defying Xi Jinping with indulgence? After the 20th CCP Congress, Xi Jinping might have secured total control, but cracks in the system are already showing. One of the clearest signs, a wave of laziness and outright defiance sweeping through China's bureaucratic ranks. Former Premier Li Keqiang once slammed the table in a rage, calling out poor governance. Since Li Qiang took over, things have only gone downhill, with officials behaving so recklessly that stories of them engaging in sexual misconduct at work are now a regular headline. And let's be honest, those are just the ones we know about. This rampant behavior seems to be a form of rebellion against Xi's high-pressure, increasingly authoritarian rule, particularly his cherry-picked anti-corruption crusade. It's no secret that many CCP officials no longer buy into the ideals of communism or Xi's Chinese dream. They're playing along on the surface, pretending to follow orders, but underneath, they're dodging work at every turn. Their real focus? Pleasure, indulgence, and getting away with whatever they can. In a rare admission, Xi himself recently addressed top officials, warning about the spread of negative lying flat attitudes, referring to the growing apathy across the party. His frustration is evident. It's clear even the highest levels of power at Zhongnanhai can't curb the problem. What Xi might not realize is that this rot has been baked into the system all along. The very teachings of the CCP are filled with the seeds of corruption and indulgence. This isn't just about flawed policies, it's about the core atheistic nature of the party, which has eroded China's traditional values. As a result, more and more Chinese citizens, particularly party officials, are chasing personal desires rather than any greater good. Look back at the party's history. Mao Zedong's Cultural Revolution violently destroyed the country's traditional moral fabric. Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms put "get rich" as the nation's motto. The brutal suppression of the 1989 student movement crushed any hopes of political openness, pushing people to focus solely on material gain. Under Jiang Zemin's rule, corruption and debauchery were rampant. Jiang even spearheaded the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners, individuals trying to bring back social morality through principles like truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. That crackdown still continues today. The CCP hasn't stopped suppressing its people, jailing human rights lawyers and eliminating any space for free thought or speech. The moral decline of Chinese society has hit rock bottom, with the country sliding into a state where people betray and harm each other without hesitation. As goes the party, so goes the nation. The corruption within the bureaucracy mirrors the collapse of China's moral foundation. It's reached the point where officials openly engage in affairs and scandalous behavior, setting a new low for what was once called the Red Dynasty. Senior leaders indulge in this behavior, and their subordinates follow, creating a toxic culture of excess and decay. Former Chinese journalist Zhu Xinqin hit the nail on the head when he said the indulgence we see among CCP officials is a direct result of the system itself. Absolute power with no checks unleashes the darkest sides of human nature. And while that power has led to unchecked corruption, it's also setting the stage for the regime's own downfall. How do you think this rampant corruption and moral decay will impact China's future? We'd love to hear what you think. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into China. Thank you and goodbye.